we've all been there, haven't we? That feeling when maybe a big project doesn't quite hit the mark.
Oh,
Or, personal goal just slips away, or even something small in your day just doesn't work out.
yeah, that familiar feeling of, well, that didn't go as planned.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into something everyone deals with, something that can be, well, uncomfortable, but honestly, it's maybe the most vital skill for growth. We're talking about how to actually handle failure, whether that's in cutting-edge research or, say, the roller coaster world of startups.
Or just everyday life, really.
Right, or just life.
Yeah, that's right. Our mission here for this deep dive is really to shift how you look at setbacks. Fundamentally, we want to explore why failure isn't just, inevitable, it happens, but how it actually fuels progress in so many different areas.
Fuels progress, I like that.
Yeah. And most importantly, we want to give you some real actionable insights, stuff you can use to harness it for learning, for building resilience, and, well, ultimately for success.
So it's not just understanding failure.
No, it's about changing your relationship with it, redefining it, and doing that, hopefully pretty quickly and effectively.
Okay. And I know we've got some pretty surprising stats and examples lined up that might just, shake things up a bit.
Definitely.
All right, let's unpack this then. Let's explore what failure really means for you. So, first off, when we even say the word failure, what are we actually talking about? It's such a loaded term, isn't it?
It really is. And at its most basic level, failure is just not achieving the outcome you wanted. Right, not hitting the goal.
Simple enough.
Yeah, but the real kicker isn't just saying, oh, it's not the end, or it's a stepping stone. That's true, but...
There's more to it.
Well, yeah, the speed and the depth of how you analyze things after the failure, that seems to directly link to how likely your next attempt is to succeed.
Okay. So it's less fail fast and more.
Learn faster. Exactly. Because failure, it's just woven into the fabric of innovation, isn't it? Taking risks, trying something new, stepping into the unknown.
You kind of have to risk it.
You do. Without being willing to fail, progress.
Yeah.
It grinds to a halt.
And the numbers, wow, they really show this starkly. It's kind of mind-blowing. Like Gartner finding that over 85% of AI and data science projects, they just don't hit their goals.
85%, that's huge.
It is, and it's not just fancy tech, right? Startups. Loads of them don't survive the first few years. CB Insights points to the top reason being nobody actually needed the product.
Lack of market need, yeah, classic.
And even in scientific labs, most experiments, they don't give you the results you expected. It makes you think of that Thomas Edison quote.
Oh, the light bulb one.
Yeah, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Exactly. It really forces you to admit that failure is, well, it's natural. It's unavoidable if you're trying to do anything meaningful.
Right, yeah.
But, okay, if it's that common, then the big question becomes, how do we actually get okay with it? Intellectually, we know it happens, but emotionally, especially when the stakes feel high.
Yeah, how do you bridge that gap?
How do we shift our thinking so we work with it, instead of just fighting against it?
That really is the core question. And it gets even more interesting when you look at specific fields, right? Let's talk about AI and data science first. That world moves so fast. What does failure look like there?
Well, in AI and data science, failures often boil down to a few common pitfalls, things that, frankly, are often avoidable.
Like what?
Okay, so a big one is just not having clear objectives. Projects kick off without really nailing down unambiguous goals or metrics.
You don't even know what success looks like, or failure.
Exactly. Then there's the whole data quality issue. That's massive. If your data is biased or incomplete or just plain wrong.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Classic garbage in, garbage out, yeah. But on a multi-million-dollar scale sometimes.
Ouch.
Right. And then you see misalignment all the time. A real disconnect between the tech teams building the stuff and the business folks who are supposed to use it.
So they're not speaking the same language.
Pretty much. And finally, scalability is a huge hurdle. Something works great in the lab, looks amazing in a demo.
But falls apart in the real world.
Falls apart when you try to deploy it at scale. Dealing with real, messy data and users. Happens all the time. So, okay, how do you handle these? The key is realizing that each slip-up in AI isn't just a failure point. It's a data point.
Oh, okay. Information.
Exactly. It gives you direct insight into what didn't work and why. So it's about building a culture, a learning culture, where teams see these moments as diagnostic opportunities, not blame games.
Right, not pointing fingers.
No. And then practically, you need robust project management, lots of check-ins, iterative adjustments based on early feedback. That stops small problems becoming total train wrecks.
Makes sense.
It's just continuous improvement, always updating models, always refining processes. It has to be standard practice.
It's interesting how that feedback loop, sometimes born out of pure frustration,
Oh, yeah.
actually becomes the path to making something really good. Like, think about an AI chatbot.
Ooh.
Maybe version 1 is terrible. It totally misunderstands what users want.
Frustrating for everyone.
Right. But if the team digs in, analyzes why it's failing, is it the data it learned from, the algorithm itself, how people are phrasing things, they can pinpoint those weak spots.
And iterate.
And iterate, exactly. Refine the model, maybe tweak the interface, and pretty quickly get to something much, much better. It's learning by doing, even if the first doing was, well, a failure.
Perfect example.
Okay, so moving from algorithms, let's head over to the lab bench. Scientific research. A world built on precision, yet failure seems built in there too.
Oh, absolutely. In research, failure isn't just part of the process. You could argue it's the very engine of discovery.
How so?
Well, every experiment that doesn't give you the result you predicted, it still tells you something. It narrows down the possibilities. It helps you refine your hypothesis. It's through these so-called failures that we actually edge closer to understanding things.
So even a negative result is a result.
Precisely. But the human side, that can be really tough. Getting a paper rejected, having a grant application denied, spending months on an experiment that just fizzles out, that can be incredibly demoralizing for scientists.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but, you look at the history, even the most famous Nobel Prize winning scientists, they face tons of rejections along the way. So practically speaking, for a researcher, it means more than just, keep trying. One really useful thing is maybe keeping a rejection log.
A rejection log. Sounds a bit depressing.
Maybe. But not just tracking that you got rejected. It's about categorizing the feedback. Are reviewers always pointing out the same issue with your method, your writing style?
Looking for patterns.
Exactly. You identify recurring problems, and you systematically address them before you send it out again. It turns what feels like a personal slapdown into a useful diagnostic tool.
Okay, that makes sense. It helps you iterate on your approach.
Right. And come back stronger for the next submission.
So, if rejection is just part of the game in research, what's the absolute key thing, mindset or habit that stops the scientist getting completely derailed by all those no's? Is it just having a growth mindset or something more tangible?
I think the growth mindset is foundational, definitely. Believing you can improve, but maybe practically. It's also about building a strong support network, other researchers who get it, and learning to detach your self-worth from the outcome of any single paper or grant. That's crucial, but very hard.
Detaching self-worth. Yeah, that's a big one across the board, isn't it? Okay, let's pivot now to the world of entrepreneurship. Often looks glamorous from the outside, but failure there seems almost like a badge of honor sometimes, a rite of passage.
It definitely has that reputation.
Yeah.
And when we hear the amazing success stories, the hard truth is, most startups don't make it.
We mentioned the stats earlier.
Right. CB Insights data points to that lack of market need, again, building something nobody wants, or running out of cash, that's huge, or just not having the right team, the right mix of skills and personalities.
Yeah, the team dynamic, critical.
Absolutely. The landscape is just littered with brilliant ideas that couldn't quite find their feet for one reason or another.
But then you have these incredible stories, right? Entrepreneurs who hit massive roadblocks, huge failures, and then boom, success. Like Steve Jobs.
The ultimate comeback story, almost.
Right. Fired from Apple, the company he started, only to return years later and, well, change everything.
Unbelievable turnaround.
Or J.K. Rowling. How many publishers rejected Harry Potter?
Loads of them. Turned down again and again. Before it became, one of the biggest cultural phenomena ever. These are just feel-good stories. They're like blueprints for resilience.
Yeah.
They really are. They show failure often isn't the end. It's more like a necessary detour, a sharp turn on the road to success.
So for entrepreneurs, it's not just pivot.
Well, pivot is the buzzword, but it's more nuanced. Maybe think minimal viable pivots.
Okay, what's that?
It's about testing your new idea, your new direction, with the least amount of resources possible. Quickly find out if this new path has legs or not.
So you don't waste tons of time and money going down another wrong path.
Exactly. It's about making calculated, smart shifts based on actual feedback from the market, not just gut feeling or blind persistence.
Yeah.
And also knowing when to say, okay, this isn't working, and gracefully moving on versus when to keep iterating. That's a tough call.
Definitely sounds like a balancing act. Okay, so we've talked about AI, research, startups, but failure isn't just for projects or companies, right? It hits us all personally. Career stuff, relationships, just goals we set for ourselves. What does all this mean for you listening day to day when things feel personal?
Yeah, that's where it really hits home for everyone, isn't it? Personal failure is universal. And it's totally natural to feel, disappointed, angry, frustrated, maybe even ashamed.
All of the above sometimes.
Right. And here's maybe a counterintuitive point. Often, the biggest block isn't the failure itself. It's our fear of how other people will see us, our fear of their perception of our failure.
Oh, interesting. Worrying about what others think.
Yeah. So step one is maybe acknowledging that fear and then actively trying to decouple your sense of self-worth from the outcome of that specific thing. That's huge.
Easier said than done, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But crucial. Then the key is how we respond, right? First, like we said, allow the emotions. Don't bottle them up. Feel the sadness, the anger, whatever it is, acknowledge it.
Let yourself feel it.
Then the reflection piece. Critically but kindly, look back. What can you genuinely learn here? Not beat yourself up, but learn. Then reframe it. Try to see it as that stepping stone again, not as proof that you're inherently flawed.
Shifting the narrative in your head.
Exactly. And seek support. Talk to friends, family, maybe a therapist or coach. Get some outside perspective. And finally, critically, take action. Use what you learned to try again, maybe differently this time, with a more informed approach.
That's a really solid framework, especially decoupling self-worth and managing the perception fear. That resonates. There's that great quote from Siobhan Kurum, the author.
Oh, yeah.
She said something like, "I failed exams, lost book deals, left a failed marriage, but I'm still here, happier than ever because I learned how to move on."
It's that forward motion, isn't it?
It is. It's about learning to move through it, not get stuck in it. So, okay, to try and pull all this together, maybe provide a kind of roadmap. Here are some practical strategies that cut across all these areas, things you can apply to pretty much any challenge.
Okay, let's hear them.
Right. First, practice self-compassion. Seriously, be kind to yourself. Failure doesn't define who you are as a person.
Good reminder.
Second, try not to take it personally. Often, failure is about circumstances, timing, processes, not some deep personal flaw. Third, actively learn from the mistakes. Analyze what went wrong specifically and how you could do better next time.
The analysis piece again. Crucial. Fourth, cultivate that growth mindset we talked about. Genuinely believe you can improve through effort and learning. Fifth, build resilience. Develop coping skills. Practice persistence. Don't give up easily, but know when to pivot too.
That balance again.
Sixth, set realistic goals. Sometimes failure happens because the initial goal was just impossible from the start. Clear, achievable steps reduce that risk. And finally, maybe seventh, celebrate the small wins.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, acknowledge your progress, however small it seems. It keeps you motivated, especially when you're facing setbacks. It keeps the momentum going.
That's a great list. Really practical stuff. Okay, so if anyone listening is still thinking, yeah, but failure just feels like the end of the road, let's hit them with some more of those inspiring examples, stories where failure was clearly just the beginning.
Absolutely. Let's really drive this home. Think about IBM's Watson.
Jeopardy! Watson.
That's the one. Started out as a game show contestant, right? Faced a ton of skepticism, huge technical hurdles early on.
I remember people wondering if it was just a gimmick.
Exactly. But IBM didn't scrap it. They kept iterating, persistently analyzing its weaknesses, improving it, and it transitioned from game shows to real-world applications in healthcare, finance, making a real impact, all built on learning from those initial failures or challenges.
Okay, good example.
Or Airbnb. The founders famously struggled hard at the beginning. Rejections, no traction. They were literally selling cereal boxes with political themes to make ends meet.
Seriously, cereal boxes.
Yeah, Obama O's and Captain McCain, true story. But they didn't give up. They listened, they pivoted their strategy drastically based on user feedback, and well, look at them now. Global success built on near failure.
Wow, okay, that's resilience.
And maybe the most famous scientific example, penicillin, Alexander Fleming.
Right, the moldy petri dish.
Exactly. It was technically a failed experiment because his bacterial culture got contaminated by mold. He could have just thrown it out.
But he noticed something.
He noticed the mold was killing the bacteria around it. That observation, born from a failure, led directly to penicillin, one of the biggest medical breakthroughs ever, saving countless lives. So these stories, they're not just exceptions, they're powerful reminders that failure is often, maybe even usually, a critical step for a breakthrough. It's a precursor to success.
It really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the core message is really coming through loud and clear. Failure. It's not something we should dread or hide from.
No?
It's something to embrace, really, as just a crucial, unavoidable part of getting anywhere worthwhile.
Exactly right. Whether you're working with AI, doing research, launching a business, or just navigating your own life,
Yeah.
how you choose to handle failure, that's what dictates your growth, your resilience.
Which becomes an opportunity.
It genuinely is. Every single misstep is a chance to learn something new, to improve, and honestly, to come back stronger, sharper, with a clearer idea of what to do next.
Okay, so final thought for everyone listening. If failure truly is our greatest teacher, what profound lessons might you be missing out on right now, simply by avoiding any chance of failing? Something to think about.